Hello, my PBC family and friends. Pastor Brian here with another quick bite, living the Word. Today, our word's going to come from Matthew chapter 14, one of my favorite stories, but I want to take a different look at this time. Matthew chapter 14, and if you would, let's just pick it up at verse 25. And we're going to read down through verse 20, probably about verse 33 or so, okay? Anyway, but the point of the matter is you guys know this story, and when you get there, you'll recognize it. This is when Jesus walks on the water, and then Peter asks to walk on the water as well. And normally I take a different view of this or not a different view. I normally bring out a different point out of this than I want to draw from this morning. So let's begin by just reading that text, and then we'll talk about this. So, picking up verse 25, it says, "And in the fourth watch of the night, Jesus went unto them walking on the sea. And when the disciples saw him walking on the sea, they were troubled, saying, It is a spirit, and they cried out of fear, or out for fear. But straightway Jesus spake unto them, saying, Be of good cheer, it is I, be not afraid. And Peter answered and said, Lord, if it be thou, bid me to come unto thee on the water. And he said, Come. And when Peter was come down out of the ship, he walked on the water to go to Jesus. But when he saw the wind boisterous, he was afraid and began to sink. And he cried, saying, Lord, save me. And immediately Jesus stretched forth his hand and caught him, and said unto him, O thou little faith, where didst thou doubt? And when they were come into the ship, the wind ceased. And they that were in the ship came and worshipped him, saying, Of a truth, thou art the Son of God. Now, what I normally talk about in this story is, how I talk about sometimes is what's left out of the story that can teach us just as much as what's in the story. And what I mean by that is one of the things we don't see in this story, one of the things that's not told or revealed in this story is how far Peter sank. And just that when Peter cried out, that Jesus immediately took care of him. And we talk about that all the time because in our own walk, it doesn't matter how far we've sank, how far away we walk, that when we cry out, Jesus immediately responds. But and that's beautiful, and that's a perfect and a great thing to remember today. But what I want to talk about more so in this idea is this. I want you to think about this. Peter walked on the water. Now, that we know is a miraculous thing. It's only done by the power of God. It wasn't that normal men, obviously, can walk on water. It was because Jesus Christ was there and present with him, and because the power of God was in Peter at that point to be able to walk upon the water. But what made Peter sink is when he lost sight of the power, when he lost sight of the Lord. He took his eyes off of the Lord. So many times I think in our own walks with Jesus Christ, we try to walk in faith, which is great, but then we start to sink because we start to look at the world. And here's the deal. If you're not feeling the power of Christ in your life, maybe your eyes aren't on Christ. If you're not feeling the power of God in your life, maybe you've taken your eyes off of God. Maybe you're going, I feel so out of control and so out of power. Well, here's the problem. You never were in power. See, it wasn't under Peter's power that made him able to walk on the water. It was under his faith in God and keeping fellowship with Christ, his eyes set upon the Lord, that made him able to walk upon that water. So too it is in our own lives. We have things we come up against, difficulties, situations that would, typically speaking, be an impossibility for a man. But with God, it is possible. Why? Because we keep our fellowship with him and we keep our focus on Jesus. We don't take our eyes off and look at the storm around us. We keep our eyes on Jesus and know that as long as we keep our eyes on Jesus, the power we need to be able to walk upon the water is within us. Brothers and sisters, so many of us during these times have just taken our eyes off of Jesus, started to put our hope in things that honestly are fleeting, things that aren't lasting. And we feel like we're sinking right now. And why? Because we've taken our eyes off of Jesus. We thought that the power was somehow within us to be able to control these things. And the power never was with us. It's always been with Jesus. That's what makes us able to walk. So, my encouragement for you today is this. Perhaps you're sinking. Cry out, first of all. Cry out and be restored. Second of all, keep your eyes there so the power of Christ may rest upon you. Because as Paul would say, when I am weak, then I am strong. Therefore, I will glory in my infirmities, that the power of Christ may rest upon me. Lord, I am weak, but help me to keep my eyes on you so that we can walk on the water. I think that's so amazing. When you think about what God has given you and the ability and the love wherewith he loves you, to be able to walk upon even the water, the things that would normally sink a normal man, we can walk across in faith as long as we keep fellowship with the power. But when we take our eyes off of that power, we lose that fellowship with that power, we will sink. Well, this is my encouragement to you today. I hope this helps you. I know it helps me. When I think about troubled times, I think about, Lord, I just got to keep my eyes on you, get focused again on you, and quit thinking about the things of this world, the things of this life, my comforts, or whatever the case may be. Let me just focus on you, Jesus, because you are the source of every bit of power in my life. I love you. We love you. God loves you. And God's got this.